Oh, that's why. Is that better? All right. Hey, everyone. It is episode 98 of Tuesdays with Perry. We're going to get Perry on the line in just a second. We're going to discuss all the things in the news today. Trump's nominations, the vacant senatorial seat in Florida, where Perry is from, and World War III news. All right, so let's try to get Perry on the line right now.
You maniac! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Hello?
Hey, Perry, how are you doing, my friend?
Well, for a second, I thought I was seeing or hearing the second life of Charlton Heston.
You were indeed. He's telling us, you idiots, you blew it up, and we're about to do
As he
that.
was staring at the head of the Statue of Liberty.
What's up, my friend? How are you?
Oh, wow. You know, leave it to Uncle Joe to fuck up my wet dream of the past 2.5 weeks. 3 weeks now.
Damn, man. We have a lot to talk about. So there has been some talk about the U.S. supplying Ukraine with nuclear warheads to go on those missiles we just provided. But not as importantly, but definitely in the news, we have a Senate seat that Marco Rubio is giving up in Florida. That is your state. Who do you think is going to fill that? Obviously, Governor DeSantis is going to fill that seat. He's going to name the person. Who do you think is going to name to fill Marco Rubio's Senate seat? He's the only one who is certainly going to be confirmed for his cabinet position. But who do you think is going to fill his Senate seat?
Well, I was hoping and praying it would be Matt Gaetz, just to send a message to all the never Trumpers in our own party that sit on the senatorial floor. And like you and I discussed in private, somebody from the elitists in our party must be whispering in my governor's ear, because he made it clear that is not going to happen. My second choice, only again because of what a phenomenal job she did as co-chair of the RNC, I'm hoping that it will be Laura Trump. I've come, not in the last year, but in the last 8 years, I've come to greatly respect her political instincts. I wasn't aware that she came from a politically active family in North Carolina. She's originally from North Carolina. And being married to a Trump, and the Trump family having, until recent years, always voted Democrat. I kind of took her 8 years ago as someone who was maybe from North Carolina, but moderate to liberal. And she's proven me wrong, and I'm glad. I think she has great political instincts. She's got a spine of steel. I think she would make a great senator. And Lord knows she can't be bought off. So, bully for our side if that happens to be. If not her, I get a little concerned because I don't like the fact that DeSantis just outright said it's not going to be Gates. Right now my money is on Laura. I think it will go to her because, let's face it, if DeSantis wants any shot at all of running for president anytime in the next 12 years, he better make nice with the kingmaker. And let's between you and I remind my governor, he would be on the ash heap of political history if not for Donaldus Magnus supporting him 6 years ago when he first threw his name into the hat as a candidate for governor. He didn't support him in the primaries, but when it came time, Donald Trump was there and outright made no bones about it that people who support my policies as president need to support this man and get him into the governor's mansion. So, having said all that, if he knows what side of his political bread is buttered on, my money right now is on Laura Trump. We'll see.
We haven't talked in a couple of weeks, so there have been a flurry of administration picks and seeming nominations that are going to go through, some that are a little iffy. What is your take on all the nominations? And I'm going to go cut to the quick here. There are some controversial ones. One is the Surgeon General, who apparently this woman who was on Fox, but she advocated for 6 feet distancing and masks and vaccines. So that's worrying. Some other people with the medical team. Are you still there?
You kind of faded out, Rudy.
Yeah, so there have been some definite issues with some of the picks. Why don't you go down the list and let me know what you think of some of the picks? And some have been questionable, particularly the Treasury Secretary who worked for Soros and is with the Council on Foreign Relations, etc., Bassett. Do you have any comments on the pick so far?
I did not like it. I don't trust this guy. But before we go down any other picks, I think it would be better for me to give your audience my summation on why he's making the decisions he's making for certain positions within his cabinet that conservatives and libertarians don't necessarily agree with. And I believe he's trying to send a message not only to the elected officials and specifically the Democrats in the Senate, but to all the politicos around the country. You said this about me and you said that about me. One of the things they're saying right now is, well, where's the diversity? Meaning color of skin and gender. Well, he's going to fire back. I have the most diverse cabinet in the history of this country. And people are going to say, what are you talking about? Well, let's look at all the people that I am nominating for positions within my cabinet. I have put a vaccine supporter and someone who went along with the NIH and the CDC during the dark days of COVID. I've put a CFR member in as my Secretary of the Treasury. I have put RFK Jr. in charge of the National Institutes of Health and the CDC. I'm doing all these things, and these are people who don't necessarily agree with me on a political level, specific to the position I put them in, or politics in general. That's diversity. So
Yeah.
shut your trap. And keep in mind, it'll be up to the Democrats, because there will be conservatives on our side of the aisle that may not support some of these people.
Yeah.
So if the Democrats take the bait, and because it's Trump, and because they want to try and destroy his second presidency, vote against some of these people, okay. I couldn't get everybody in my party to vote in lockstep. Nobody in the Democratic side of the Senate chamber were willing to step out of line with the Democrat Party and vote for some of these people. No problem. Now I'm going to nominate people that I want without question. And if you don't confirm them, I'll recess them. No problem.
Right.
Now, Thune is already on the record, whether he lives by it, I don't know, that he is completely open to recess appointments if necessary. Now, we'll see just how hard Uncle Mitch grabs Thune's nutsack. We'll see. So I think this is really political brinkmanship once again on the part of Trump. Whether it's this administration or his first administration, there were a lot of things that people like you and I did not agree with in decisions that he made, but we still support him. You're never, as I said many, many moon ago now on your show, my son's middle name is Reagan for a reason. Even Ronaldus Magnus, I didn't agree with everything Reagan did, specifically what he agreed to on the border. And now here we are 38 years later, and things on the border are worse than they've ever been, and partially because Reagan gave in to the Democrats and said, okay, I'm going to give these 3 million illegal aliens the right of citizenship in exchange for you securing the border. They got what they wanted. We never got what we wanted. Okay. So there are things about every president that I've voted for throughout my life that I agreed with, and things about their presidency I didn't agree with. You're not going to agree with them 100% of the time. It doesn't happen. So let's see. I know I kind of stole your thunder because you wanted to go down the entire list, but I just think he's doing this for political reasons, and we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. There's a lot of people he's nominated that I do like. I mean, I love the fact that we have a door kicker that has been nominated to run the Department of Defense. Now, Pete, when I say Pete is in trouble, he's in trouble in the lame brain media. And I think the way he's handling his nomination is actually brilliant, because all they want to talk about is this little slut that is trying desperately to, and she's doing it behind the scenes. Okay. There's a reason why they found all this information out about, because she had to sign an NDA. All right. There's a reason why all of this is coming out now. And the way he's handling is perfect. Okay. If you think, meaning when he talks to the media, when they stuck the mic in his face, he said, this incident has been thoroughly investigated by the Department of Justice, and there is nothing there they found that I did wrong, except make time for a woman who obviously had an agenda.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Okay. So if the Department of Justice didn't find anything wrong, and this has now been already said out of chamber, meaning outside of the Senate rotunda. It's already been said by people like Mullen that support him and other senators. There is no there.
Yeah.
Okay? This woman was aggressive. There are witnesses in this report, female witnesses that were friends of hers who said she was the aggressor. She made it clear to Pete that she wanted to spend time behind closed doors with him. And that's that.
Yeah.
Okay? So, Pam Bondi, they're trying to go after her now.
Yep.
This is their tactic. This is the tactic they have used with Reagan. It's the tactic they used with GW. It's the tactic they used 8 years ago with Trump's first administration, and they're doing it again. And so my only concern as far as Trump is concerned is make sure whoever you choose as a nominee they don't have to have balls of titanium like you, but they better have steel balls, because everyone, Tulsi Gabbard, now, and imagine you have a seated member of Congress. I'm talking about Tammy Duckworth.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. She has, as recently as last week, made public statements. And by the way, when you make a statement such as this woman is an agent of Russia, when you make as an elected official, when you make a statement like that outside
and a veteran
of the halls of Congress, that can be acted upon legally.
Yeah.
Okay. And if I were Tulsi, I would have one of my people, whoever she has, whether it's a family member, close friend, or someone that's walking her through the process, reach out not to one of Duckworth's aides, but to her directly and say, listen to me. You open your fat mouth again like that, and you won't have to wait for Tulsi to be confirmed. She will publicly humiliate you, just like she publicly humiliated Kamala back in 2019.
Yep.
You want that? She'll give it to you. So, you know, there are things like Tulsi's position on social welfare programs. I don't agree with, but she's a true patriot. She has sacrificed for this country. She's still a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army Reserve. She served at least 2 tours. I think somebody said last week 3 tours over in the sandbox. The one person, first of all, you cannot be a commissioned officer and be granted access to classified information unless you passed a test. So you're saying a woman who has currently, as you and I have this show tonight. So Tammy, you're saying at this very moment, a woman who currently holds the rank of lieutenant colonel, already has security clearance, is now an agent of Vladimir Putin? How stupid do you look? And Tammy lost her legs in service to the country. So how stupid do you look, bitch?
Oh,
Okay.
I can't stand her. I'm sorry.
Well,
I can't stand her.
I can't either, but I can't vote her out. I live in Florida.
Yeah. I listened to her on Face the Nation this weekend. And it was so.
Right. So when Trump nominates people such as those that I've already named tonight, I have all the confidence in the world. When it comes to members of the CFR or the WEF, I don't want them anywhere near any president, especially a president I voted for. But for whatever reason, he's made that decision. So
support the president.
that's where I'm at.
All right. So how about this woman, Lori Chavez DeRemer, who is a Republican congressperson but is pro-labor, and she was put in charge or nominated to be Secretary of Labor Department. A lot of people, especially the old school Republicans, conservatives, are like, no way in hell. But she is a Republican, even though she's pro-labor. He nominated her for the Labor Department. Is this a breakthrough? Is he trying to reach out to Middle America, and the labor folks?
Well, if you go back to the campaign, he has won the hearts and minds of all labor members. Okay. What he doesn't have is the support of labor's representatives. Okay. The people who control the money that the unions bestow upon Democrats. By naming someone like Chavez, okay, he's sending a message not only to the union membership, but more importantly, to the union leaders, the people who make $500,000 a year off the sweat of the brow of the membership. Okay, I'm putting somebody who is labor friendly in charge of the Department of Labor. And I'm doing that because I'm going to protect the rights of your membership, with or without your help. But without your help, if you refuse to lend help or at least be neutral during the next presidential election, I'll make sure that the union membership doesn't return you to office, and you'll be out on your ass, and you won't be seeing that $350,000 to $700,000 a year paycheck you get from the labor membership. And I think that's part of the reason why he's doing what he's doing with regard to Secretary of Labor.
Right. So,
I think it's a good move.
Right.
I do. I mean, you were a member of a union. I have always been anti-union. I don't like unions. I don't believe that anyone should speak for me when it comes to what my worth as an individual is. Now, that's one difference that you and I share. However, having said that, there is a place for unions. I get it. I don't want unions in government positions.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I made that clear during my morning podcast that I am an advocate for collective bargaining, but I'm not so much an advocate for unions themselves, especially the union hierarchy, because in my experience, they turn around and stab me in the back every time. I'm like,
right.
How can you vote? How can you support a presidential candidate who is looking to offshore more manufacturing jobs? I don't understand.
Right. Well, that's my whole point about Trump. I mean, Trump has been more protective of the union membership than the union leaders have been for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
And who is it that's speaking out against China being able to use Mexican labor to import through USMCA? Who is it that's speaking out against it? It's not the union leadership. It's Donaldus Magnus.
Yeah.
So he has already shown labor members, the average Joe and Joanne Schmuckatelli, who bust their ass every day on the assembly lines. Hey, look at all your brothers and sisters in the last 40 years that have lost jobs because your union leadership isn't protecting your interests. Well, I am. And I'm telling you, that could change everything in the labor movement in this country and for the next 20 years.
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be, as part of the populist campaign, there should be consideration for everybody, not just corporations. And particularly, it seems like he's hedging, but he's putting a clear signal to corporations that there's a new sheriff in town. And his name is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And things are going to change, particularly to make things better for middle America, for the union worker, for the middle wage worker, et cetera, et cetera. So I think I think he's striking all the right chords, because the majority of people, as CBS, even mainstream media polls have shown, people want upending of the bureaucracy because it hasn't been serving the American citizen for some time.
For decades.
Right, absolutely. So I want to switch gears here. We need to talk about the most serious thing on the agenda here, which is Biden, the lame duck, or if it's even Biden making these decisions, we don't know. But during the lame duck period here, it seems like the Biden administration is making provocative actions in Ukraine, escalatory actions, and they only say escalation when Vladimir Putin retorts, and he's made it perfectly clear, if you do this, there are going to be repercussions. And so we're sleepwalking into World War III, a nuclear world war. What do you say about the ATACMS, the British Storm Shadows, and now the French are sending missiles, and now Biden has sent in anti-personnel mines, and now they're talking about, off the record, of course, that the U.S. wants to give back, I don't really understand give back, nuclear weapons to Ukraine. This is madness.
Well, it literally is. It's Dr. Strangelove all over again. Only this time it's not a crazy black comedy movie. It's real life. And I honestly believe, just as Biden stuck a dagger, not only in Kamala's back, but in the entire Democrat Party's back when they pushed him out the door in July, he is doing now to Trump what he did to his own party 5 months ago. And he is deliberately trying to leave Trump in an absolutely chaotic world. I don't want to get off this subject, but I also, before we get off the phone tonight, I also want to talk about what he's doing on the southern border. Putting that aside for a second, getting back to Ukraine. The only thing, in my opinion, that is going to keep us from going to a hot war with Russia in the next 2 months is Vladimir Putin holding back. Because right now, if he wanted to, I don't care what the American press is trying to tell us about all the casualties that Russia has taken and is taking still on a daily basis. Russia has not truly unleashed their military. Something that people need to know is that his best trained and best equipped troops, and I'm not talking about a brigade, I'm not talking about a division, I'm talking about 3 to 5 divisions of his army. They're still out enjoying the best vodka in the world on the strip in Moscow every Friday and Saturday night. And they are not on the front lines. They're not even in support roles right now. There's a reason why he has gone this route for 2 years. And the dirty little secret is, okay, you forced me to start a war. Actually, as you have properly said before, Rudy, we've started this war. He just simply took actions to defend his own country. But putting that aside, I invaded Ukraine because of actions you, meaning NATO, you took. I'm protecting my own interests. I'm using cannon fodder right now. I'm not using, until this week, I'm not using my highest, best developed weaponry yet. I'm not using my best troops. I'm not flying my ace pilots. I'm not doing any of that. if you force me to, I can take Ukraine in 5 days. There's a reason why he's using foreign legions, because he doesn't want to use his best troops. There's a reason why the Koreans are there. There's a reason why the Yemenis are there. There's a reason why all of this is happening from Putin's standpoint. Our press is not talking about these things. Okay? So my concern is, are we pushing him to the point where he does unleash the entire lethal force of his military and just in 5 days just roll over what's left of the Ukrainian army and whatever foreign legions? Because let's face it, there are American service people in Ukraine right now.
Oh, yeah.
And whether they're wearing American, well, we know they're not, whether they're wearing American flags on their sleeve or not, there are Americans fighting on behalf of Ukraine. That's part of the reason why we have spent over $200 billion fighting this needless war, is because somebody has to pay for all the foreigners that are now fighting for the Ukrainians. Okay? So when it gets to a point within the next 55 days, God forbid, he decides to unleash his entire force and march through what's left of the defense lines of the Ukrainian forces, he'll take Kyiv. And then what are we going to do? Meaning NATO. Are we then going to attack because we can't let this madness stand? We have to push this madman out of Ukraine like we did with Saddam Hussein 33 years ago? Let me tell you something. It ain't going to happen should things come to that. We're not fighting a third-rate army. We're fighting a first-world-rate army if we do this. Right. So my hope is that he doesn't do that, and he can hold on long enough for Donald Trump to put his hand on the Bible in 55 days, and then get everybody to the table and stop his hostilities.
I think
that's what I'm praying for.
Yeah,
because the alternative is ugly.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Any sane person, and Donald Trump is already carrying out diplomacy, saying,
right.
We could only imagine, but saying, hold on, don't do anything crazy, but the West is going to...
Which is why Uncle Joe is doing what he's doing.
Right. Is going to provoke. Right. Provoke. It's so provocative. It's not only irresponsible and escalatory, it's so provocative that everybody is standing there with their mouth agape saying, are you kidding me? You're lame duck and you're you're provoking a world war, a possible nuclear war, because if you didn't see, the missile that Vladimir Putin displayed was new technology for sure. And he doesn't want to show his hand. He didn't want to display his new technology. But he said, look, here's the new hypersonic MIRV. You can't kill it. There's no way you can
keep in mind,
you can't
Rudy,
intercept it.
I want to interrupt you here. I want to interrupt you for a second.
No, go. Yeah, you go.
He chose to do it on the outskirts of town.
Yeah.
He could have just as easily directed those MIRVs to hit Kyiv.
Yeah.
He chose not to. Yeah. He's sending a message. I have a weapon I can use, whether or not it's conventionally weaponized. I have a weapon I can use that you can't stop.
Yeah.
So you better lay off.
Yeah,
but Uncle Joe
had to
is
call
doing just the opposite.
Yeah, he had to call the U.S. and go, hey, I'm sending in something you might see as a nuclear weapon. Don't shoot. It's just a test.
Right.
And it was a very successful test, and I had to explain to people, MIRV, if you know, there are multiple warheads coming down, and they were conventional, but you put nukes on that, it would have been a whole different story.
Well, they were conventional, but hypersonic speed.
Yeah, they can't be hit. They can't be taken out by anti-missile
Right.
technology. So that was
Correct.
the point he was trying to make. And we shouldn't even be going here, but, you know, they want to friggin' keep escalating. And that's what people don't understand. Missiles are missiles. They're not missiles. The ATACMs can be mounted with nuclear warheads. So can the Storm Shadow cruise missiles and the new French missiles as well. So, parting words, or give me some of your wisdom. We got all these picks. We're looking at Armageddon in the face. They're talking about, what is it? Bird flu is coming out. I mean, what are we going to expect for Donald Trump? Assassination attempts. You see that Donald Trump is staying in the bunker for the next couple months. He's being advised to do so. What is your, looking at your crystal ball, what do you see for the next 58 days?
Well, I'm going to steal your line. Gird your loins. It's going to get more crazy. And even after he takes the oath of office, it doesn't magically stop at 12:06 p.m. on January 20th. I'm deathly afraid of the continuing escalation of hostilities in Ukraine. You have Uncle Joe threatening, and this hasn't been talked about much in the media, threatening Netanyahu with, I'm going to cut off all arms supplies to you if you don't come to terms with both Hezbollah and Hamas. You know, everybody's talking right now about Hezbollah. Well, the reason being is they've been decimated. When I say decimated, they may have a bunch of fighters, but all they are ants without a queen. The Mossad did an incredibly masterful job of decapitating that entire terrorist organization. There's no one left in control of Hezbollah. The only reason why the Israelis are still in southern Lebanon is they were going in, mopping up, trying to get any remnants of what remains of Hezbollah either in jail or dead. And so with Trump less than 2 months away, knowing that Trump's going to say to Netanyahu, hey, Bibi, whatever you got to do, just get it done and get it done fast. Uncle Joe doesn't want to see Israel triumphant.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, the word went out, and that's the reason that the Israelis so quickly, we weren't talking about there being a cessation of hostilities in southern Lebanon 2 weeks ago. But all of a sudden, we've had these lengthy talks behind the scenes for 3 months. Bullshit.
Yeah.
It was Uncle Joe telling Netanyahu, if you don't cease and desist in southern Lebanon, I'm cutting off all support to Israel. And so they had to move on this and move on it fast. Now, if you notice, they're already saying, okay, you got to end what's going on in the Gaza Strip now. And that's the next step, that they're going to put pressure on Bibi to just simply stop what's happening in Hamas. In the meantime, where are our American hostages? Have you heard anybody in this godforsaken administration say we want our people back? No. Okay? Why? Because they're Jewish? Joey? Is that why? I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah. No.
No.
And meanwhile, Iran is starting up their centrifuges and enriching uranium for nuclear fuel.
Hello?
You hear me?
Rudy?
Yep. You got me? You don't have me.
Rudy?
No, I'm here still. Are you there?
Oh, no. Rudy, are you there?
Are you there still? Or
That
no?
thing. Oh, now I hear you.
All right.
Okay.
Well, what I was saying was the brilliant Biden foreign policy now is allowing Iran to enrich uranium. They're starting up more centrifuges. And so, again, they're 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb. So that's another thing that's in the mix.
Right. But even with that being said, okay, right now the immediate concerns of Bibi Netanyahu is to get the leaders of Hamas to give back the hostages. That he has said now for the last 8-9 months, we will cease and desist immediately as long as you return our people.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do, and we will stop this. Has Hamas agreed to that? No. They just continue to put more human shields in front of their cowardly fighting forces. Okay? So Uncle Joe is not making things better. Uncle Joe is doing exactly what he wants to do, stir up mischief. And that leads me back to the beginning of our conversation, which is, who is really sitting behind the Resolute desk? I'm convinced it's not him, because he doesn't even know what he had for breakfast.
No.
He's just a puppet, a literal puppet that goes out in front of the cameras and says whatever they're putting in his ear to say. And that's it. So I'm worried about that. Lastly, I wanted to also talk about two more points. One of them has to do, this is a non-story that should be a story. You may or may not recall, back in 2021, the Democrats pushed through and Biden signed the legislation regarding the lowering the threshold of banks having to report the movement of money, transactions. It was at one point, up until 2021, anybody gaining up to under $20,000, you didn't have to file under I think it's called the 1099-F or 1099-K, whatever it is. They lowered it to $600. Now, not only is this an absolute bureaucratic nightmare for the people who work at the IRS, imagine the fear that sends through every American taxpayer. Okay? That has not been enacted for the last 3 years because the Democrats were afraid the Republicans, and rightfully so, would use it as a bludgeoning instrument when it came to election time. You did this to the American people. You did this. You did it on your own. Not one Republican in either House of Congress signed on to this deal. So the IRS wrote their own law. I didn't know about this until this afternoon. I just got the story. I'll share it with you after the show. And there is an organization called, and you've probably heard of them before, Americans for Tax Reform. And it's headed up by a gentleman by the name of Grover Norquist, and you know who he is. Yep. And they are saying, why is it, and they're calling out Republicans too, why is it you allowed, meaning elected officials, starting with but not ending with Uncle Joe, you wrote legislation, you signed it into law, but you had your IRS commissioner for the last 3 years simply write a policy that, well, we're not going to enforce this, knowing what it would mean to you politically. Guess when it takes effect? Fiscal year 2025, which already started.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something I wanted to bring to your viewers tonight. I wanted to make mention of it. And like I said, I'll share share it with you. If you want to talk about it on your show tomorrow, you'll have that article to talk about. The other thing I wanted to talk about before we signed off tonight is the madness that's going on the southern border. And I don't know if you saw this today. I happened to be watching Fox, and the Customs and Border Patrol, I want to say it was at Eagle Pass. I could be wrong, but it was definitely at the Texas-Mexico border, used a forklift to raise the barbed wire that the Texas Department of Public Safety put in place to keep illegal aliens from further invading our country, raised it up at a height of over 10 feet so that the unwashed masses could rush that now, working gate, for whatever you want to call it,
Right.
and rushed through into Texas. And the only thing the National Guardsmen of Texas and Florida, because Florida still has National Guardsmen there, and the Texas Department of Public Safety officials could do is just sit there and watch, because you can't stop federal agents from
Right.
doing their job.
Yeah, it's insurrection. You can't interfere with the feds.
You can't interfere. All they could do is deal with it once it happened. Do you know how many children between the ages of 2 and 7 were in that group of several hundred that rushed the border? Unaccompanied, by the way. And one of them happened to have a piece of paper that was shown to, so you know the story.
Yeah, we
okay?
saw it, yeah. She said,
Now-
I'm going to find my parents in Illinois or whatever.
Right. So when you have people like Leslie Marshall say, they're coming for the abuelas, you're fucking A right, we're coming for the abuelas. You know why? Because you allowed this to happen to our country. You are the ones that allowed people to send their children on up to a 2,500-mile hike through the most dangerous parts of not only the jungle, but to put these young children in the custody of coyotes. You did this. And my question to the lame brain media is, why the fuck haven't you asked Mayorkas why they're doing this? Why are your members of DHS, of which Customs is part of now, why are your agents of DHS literally picking up razor wire and allowing people to invade our country? I'm waiting for Peter Ducey to drop that bomb tomorrow in the White House. I pray he does.
I hope he does.
I don't know if he will.
Yeah, I think that
That's something that I want. And so, as you and I know, and I'm sure many members of your viewing audience know, Tom Homan was down at the border today, and he gave the biggest rousing and supportive speech I've ever heard from any member of any administration when addressing the National Guardsmen troops, as well as the Texas Department of Public Safety officials, and basically said, help's on the way. Hang in there.
Yep.
And so why isn't the press talking about this?
Yeah. And
it's a rhetorical question.
Right. I hope Vladimir Putin and everybody else just holds on for 60 more days. Otherwise, we're going to end up like Europe. If you saw what happened with the mass migration in Europe, what happens is they keep those people in ghettos to use as they see fit. And so that's my worry, is that...
Yeah, but notice that's not happening in Russia or China.
No, of course not. Or Romania. I don't know if you saw there's a runoff now in Romania. They have another populist nationalist leader that came out of nowhere. And then in other parts of Eastern Europe as well. It's a rage against the leftist machine because they're leading us to our destruction. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Perry. It's really been a pleasure. I wish we could talk more about a lot of these issues. I'm going to send me that stuff that you have, and I'm going to feature it on my podcast tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I probably won't have an episode on Thanksgiving, but probably Friday. So we'll see. Thanks for joining me, Perry. Any last parting words before we cut out here?
Well, first, I should have said this at the very beginning of the show tonight, Rudy, and I apologize to your audience for not doing it, and that is, everyone take a deep breath starting with tomorrow evening, because this coming Thursday, we have so much to be thankful for. And I am so looking forward to it. You know, this is going to be the first time in well over a decade. My wife is actually going to slave over an oven to cook Thanksgiving dinner. So everyone, I want to wish all of you a very happy and continuing healthy Thanksgiving. Make sure to loosen the belt before it gets tight, and think about how far we have come from where we were just 60 days ago. Yep. We have much to be grateful for.
Yep. And pray. Let's pray for peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
All right, buddy. Take care.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. There goes Perry. Tuesdays with Perry, episode 98. We're closing in on episode 100. We're going to have a special surprise for episode 100. Everybody pray this Thanksgiving, and you know, even if you're not religious, pray for peace, because that's really what we need right now. We need calmer heads to prevail, not these sicko nihilists to be in control and decide our fate for us. Thanks for joining me tonight. Stay hip to the trick. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.